Word on the street is that the political circumstances around us are showing up in the workplace. And I've got some perspective on how to help coach our workforce to avoid some negative consequences happening in the workplace as it pertains to political discussions. Let's get to it. All right, gang. So there was an assassination attempt last week. I was in Kentucky when it happened. I had just returned from being in DC. We've been on the road, going from multiple states, hearing people have conversations about politics, about the candidates that are running. It was just kind of everywhere. And I know it's also happening in the workplace, right? Folks have conversations about something that happened on the news, or a debate, or a perspective that was just shown, or the vice president candidate that was just selected by Trump. All these things are happening all around us. And historically in the workplace, what we had done is say, don't have political conversations in the workplace, period. Don't do it. It's not allowed. But those days and times are gone. All right. Now people are bringing their full selves, their full identity to the workplace, and they're having these conversations. So I'm encouraging people to not encourage people to avoid having a conversation in the workplace. Allow them to have those conversations. Don't try to stifle those discussions. Although a law firm was at the SHRM conference that happened in Chicago a few weeks ago, he highlighted some data that I thought was really interesting. Data that was highlighted during his presentation was that 83% of workers overall said that they had conversations around politics in the workplace. And 81% of people in the workplace expressed that they wish that they could avoid having conversations about politics in the workplace, which I thought was really rather ironic because you don't have to have that conversation. Fun fact, right? But what I'm saying is 83% of folks are talking about this. It's gonna happen. Trying to suppress them, trying to oppress them is not the solution, but providing some parameters around what is allowed, what is unallowed from a conversation standpoint is imperative, okay? So here's what I would say. Allow folks to have their conversations. However, let them know where the swim lanes are. Coming into a conversation saying, I, Cirilda Summers McGee, am a Trump supporter, if that is how I felt, let's say that's my stance. And then I see a colleague and I'm like, well, I know you won't get it because you're a Biden supporter, so you believe in X, Y, and Z. Number one, you don't know what a person believes in. Number two, you shouldn't come in hot making assumptions about where someone is. It's based on your bias. It's based on your perceptions. It's based on a lot of things that can make a person feel under attack, can make a person feel like this is not a safe space for them. And the third thing that I would also highlight is that all of a sudden a person feels like you made an assumption about them, and then they tie in other things that you're talking about with respect to work to the assumption you made about their political stance, or your observation of their political stance. That's dangerous terrain. And so the swim lanes, like, educate people. People want to know what's appropriate, what's inappropriate. People want to know how to avoid getting into trouble, how to avoid losing their jobs. Let them know about discriminatory conversations. Let them know about how bias can creep into a conversation. Make them aware of the fact that you may be having a conversation with one person, but there are other people in earshot and they may not have that perspective, and you may be triggering them or frustrating them and making their workplace feel unsafe or feel untenable for them to be a part of. That's unacceptable. Now, there will be folks who say, I've got my First Amendment rights. I get to say whatever I want to say. And they're right when it comes to saying whatever they want to say out in the world, walking down the street. But when they're at the company or on company time, that is not the case unless you work for government, which is a totally different word on the street. The fact of the matter is that folks don't get to say whatever they want to say, however they want to say it in the workplace. I'm actually about to get ready to do a word on the street talking about tone policing because it is interesting. It's been weaponized and there's a lot of validity behind tone policing. So we're going to talk about it. But what I'm saying is that you don't get to say anything you want to say in the workplace and say that it's my First Amendment right, which I've had too many conversations with people about. So in closing, allow people to have their political conversations in the workplace, but with parameters. And that means you cannot assume that they know what the expectations of the workplace culture is. Train them, do a video, circulate it to the entire workforce. Word on the street was born from me doing videos when I worked in government and sending it out to thousands of people so they get the same message from me quickly, educating them so that they're not flying blind. And I would encourage you to communicate the parameters. Set the parameters and then proactively communicate those parameters to the workforce. It's going to make everyone feel safer. It's going to give everyone tools in their tool belts, and then you can hold them accountable to living into those expectations moving forward. That's this issue of Word on the Street. The political reality is descending upon us up until and beyond November. So get ready for it, be thoughtful about it, and get active. Until next time.